Hey there everyone, welcome back to Utility Sports. Really excited for today's video, which slates to be a fun one, my 2025 NBA Draft Lottery predictions. Now this video is quite a bit different than the normal videos on the channel. This is a purely good vibes video. This is not your typical analytical content you're used to seeing here at Utility Sports. This is meant to be a fun video, a predictive video on what I feel like will happen in the 2025 NBA Draft Lottery, which is of course just a few days away now on May 12th, Monday, which we will have content coming out soon for that as well. So stay tuned. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new especially. And remember, this is just who I feel may have the top 4 picks in the 2025 NBA Draft. There's no bias in this. This is just like what my gut is telling me. Back in 2023, I successfully predicted the San Antonio Spurs jumping up to pick number 1 to ultimately land Victor Wembanyama. And I want to hear your guys' predictions as well. So make sure to comment down below. Remember, the top 4 picks are done through the lottery. So comment down below who you think will ultimately get the top 4 picks in order. Then also, if you want to manifest, give a little bit of good luck to your favorite team. Comment down below in quotes, manifesting the Mavericks or Spurs or Rockets, the number 1 pick in the race for Cooper Flagg. Go ahead, comment that down below right now. I'm going to be leaving little hearts on all of those comments that state manifesting the number 1 pick for your favorite team. And let's jump into it here with those 2025 NBA Draft Lottery odds. So before we actually jump into who I think will land a top 4 pick in this draft, we do need to see what the odds look like. Remember, Utah has a 14% chance, as does Washington and Charlotte at the first overall pick. The floor for Utah, specifically with the worst record in the NBA, is number 5. So there is a very decent likelihood that their name is not called in the lottery, which would put them at pick number 5. Brooklyn, an interesting team with a 9% chance at pick number 1. And as you can tell, as you go further and further down the list, the better record you have, the significantly worse odds you have of having a top 4 pick. You look at that Chicago pick, for example. Now, it's not unheard of. Last year, we saw Atlanta make a jump from being a play-in team all the way up to the number 1 pick when they ultimately drafted Zachary Sachet. So it's not impossible, but there's a lot to keep in mind that it is less probable. And I think when it comes down to it, while the lottery is just one draw, it's not about how often you get it out of 100 tries like we've seen on the channel. It is still important to note that the more probability, the more combinations you have in the lottery, the better, which really does favor teams still at the top like Utah, Washington, Charlotte, New Orleans, even Philadelphia, Brooklyn to an extent, and Toronto, even San Antonio at number 8. And then you see the odds really dip off from there, a 2.2% decrease from that San Antonio pick down to that Rockets pick via Phoenix. So keep that in mind. Make sure to leave your comments and your predictions down below. And let's jump into it with my prediction for the number 4 pick. Who will be picking number 4 in the 2025 NBA Draft? Drum roll, please. I have the Charlotte Hornets picking 4th, and Hornets fans are probably devastated by this. Wanting the chance to keep Cooper Flagg in North Carolina, keep him there in the Southeast with the Charlotte Hornets, would have been a great landing spot for him, obviously as a pairing next to both Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball. There would be a lot of offensive creation skills there, a lot of play finishing tools to put around Cooper Flagg already immediately as well. I think it would be a great way to supplement and have a real additive addition next to Mark Williams if the Hornets do decide to keep him. However, I just don't have that gut feeling right now for Charlotte. I do think they do hear their name called in the lottery. I think they ultimately land with the 4th overall selection in the 2025 NBA Draft, which is still a pretty good pick. There's some very talented players that you can get anywhere in the top 10 even. So if you don't get the 1st overall pick, it's not the end of the world. Although getting Cooper Flagg in this draft is a significant advantage over your other lottery counterparts this offseason. So for Charlotte, obviously disappointing to not get a top 1 or 2 pick if the lottery plays out this way. But for the Hornets, there's still a lot of work to be done in this roster. Pick number 4 is still a valuable asset for them to go out into the draft with and try and add to their young core nucleus of players. Moving on now to pick number 3 of the 2025 NBA Draft. with the Hornets name already called now, who will land the third overall pick? For me, my gut feeling is telling me the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that has a lot on the line here this offseason. You think about a 31-plus-year-old Joel Embiid, a 35-plus-year-old Paul George. You think about where this team was expected to be this year, injuries and poor play when they were healthy put them as not only a lottery team, a very top half of the lottery team, even a top third of the lottery with the fifth best odds in the draft. And there's a lot riding on this lottery for them as well because of the protections on this pick. This pick is owed top 6 protected to Oklahoma City. So if it lands at number 7, if two teams below Philadelphia, like Brooklyn, for example, like Toronto, San Antonio, Houston via Phoenix, if any two teams jump up in the lottery that is below Philadelphia, all of a sudden this is the Oklahoma City Thunder pick at number 7. So this pick is one of the most essential to watch for on lottery night. If you see a team in the top between ranges 14 through 7, 14 through 6 jump up into the lottery, it will shake up the NBA in a huge way. However, my gut feeling right now is telling me the Sixers will ultimately luck into a top 4 pick. A lot of people will say that's not deserved, but the lottery balls really don't care. The trust the process might be back here a bit for Philadelphia, and it's a great opportunity for them to add some young talent into their core, which is a little bit older, but they do have some nice young pieces. They hit last year on Jared McCain, assuming he can come back healthy and get right before the start of next season. You look at Tyrese Maxey as well, another obviously core young player for them that has really ascended into his own, he's elevated his game to a very significant level. And I think for Philadelphia, the opportunity to add more young talent to this team is obviously a huge additive piece for them. It also gives them a lot of trade flexibility if they want to go out, move off of Paul George's contract, use this pick as a sweetener in the deal, maybe in pursuit of someone like Kevin Durant out of Phoenix. Could you trade the third overall pick and Paul George's contract to bring in Kevin Durant if you're Philadelphia? That's an interesting way to look at it. And for Phoenix, that's something you'd strongly have to consider as well, given the fact that Durant is probably looking for a new home entering the final year of his current contract there in Phoenix. So a lot to consider here, but my gut is telling me Philadelphia jumps up. As you guys have seen all year long in a lot of my lottery simulations, it seems like the odds have favored Philadelphia as well. So we'll see ultimately what happens on May 12th on lottery night, but I just have that gut feeling right now for Philadelphia. Moving on to pick number 2, who will get the second overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft? In my estimation, that team is the Brooklyn Nets, a team that is slated to make a lot of noise in the 2025 offseason, slated with maximum cap space. They have some interesting restricted free agency rights, specifically looking at Cam Thomas, who has been a high volume scorer for them. But I think for Sean Marks, you look at his history as a GM, not only has he found a lot of creative ways to either handcuff rival teams, whether it's the RFA signings of an offer sheets he gave out to guys like Tyler Johnson and Alan Crabbe, which were ultimately matched by Miami and Portland respectively. And then you also look at his ability in 2019 when he landed both Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and also DeAndre Jordan all in one offseason. There's been huge moments in the Nets organization while Sean Marks was the head honcho there, making decisions for them, and he has done a very good job leading this Nets team in and out of rebuilds rather quickly. The Nets, when he took over for them, were on the heels of the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett trade. They had no assets. They were very much dead in the water, and Brooklyn found a lot of creative ways to improve their team and ultimately did become a free agent destination. They built a really great team. They made an aggressive trade for James Harden. Health, COVID, all of that stuff really derailed what that team could have been, which is one of the greatest teams we had ever seen assembled. They were so talented. And I think for the Nets here specifically, they have 4 first-round picks this year. If they do get the second overall pick and are able to land Dylan Harper in this draft class, it gives them the lead guard of the future, and it really sets up the rest of their offseason into free agency and their other remaining first-round draft picks to find pieces that supplement and fit him especially. And I think the Nets, they have the 6th best odds coming into this year's draft. They have a very good chance to move up into that top 4, and I believe a 9.2% chance ultimately at this second pick. I think if they do walk away with this pick, they're going to be very, very, very well poised to add in free agency, add core pieces around them, and very interestingly enough, the decision to keep Nick Claxton, the decision to keep Cam Johnson past the NBA trade deadline might pay out big time if you're able to get a contributing NBA level guard like Dylan Harper at the very top of this draft here at number 2. It's setting up the Nets in a way where instead of a longer term approach with their rebuild, with the right picks, with the right decisions at picks 2, 19, 26, and 27, they can really walk away with this as a team that's ready to compete for a playoff spot already once again after the Mikal Bridges trade seemingly pointed this franchise toward rebuilding. Sean Marks might be ready to turn the ship around again already there in Brooklyn. And then the question everyone's been wanting to know, who do I see getting the first overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft? Again, drum roll please. The Washington Wizards. It just feels like destiny to me. I have the exact same feeling I had about San Antonio in 2023. I was very, very, very certain that the Spurs were just going to somehow win the lottery that year to land Victor Wembanyama, and I've held that same feeling all draft cycle long about Washington and Cooper Flagg. The Maine native landing in Washington, D.C., a somewhat smaller market team in the NBA, all things considered. Washington, D.C., of course, last time they held the number 1 overall pick, they landed John Wall. Was a huge, huge face, a huge franchise icon for the Wizards, and led them to some very good seasons and some real playoff success, including nearly making an Eastern Conference Finals. And I think for Cooper Flagg, you look at the overall core that Washington already has in place with Alex Sarr. Of course, they really like Bub Carrington there. Bilal Coulibaly, who was the first pick under the Michael Winger, Will Dawkins era of Washington Wizards basketball. This team has set themselves up with draft pick control. They own a bunch of future swaps with Phoenix. They have control of a lot of second-round picks. This Washington Wizards team is loaded with a bunch of assets. They already have some intriguing long-term young talent, especially defensively. And landing Cooper Flagg, the main event in this year's draft class, just really wraps everything together, ties everything together in a bow, and makes the Washington Wizards must-see TV over the next 10 years. I think this is really good for the NBA. Now, I'm not suggesting any frozen envelope type stuff here. I'm not saying David Stern's rigging the lottery. We got Adam Silver, but all I know, under Adam Silver, a lot of smaller market teams have been winning the lottery or moving up. Memphis jumped up to 2 for John Morant. New Orleans jumped up to 1 for Zion Williamson in the offseason that Anthony Davis requested a trade. I'm just saying, small market teams tend to do pretty well in the lottery under Adam Silver's tutelage. So we'll see what happens with Washington here, but I just have that gut feeling they are going to move up to number 1 in the 2025 NBA draft. Which ultimately brings us to our full draft lottery order here. I do have, again, just to recap, the Washington Wizards at pick 1, the Brooklyn Nets at pick 2, the Philadelphia 76ers landing the 3rd overall pick, the Charlotte Hornets landing the 4th overall selection, and then 5 through 14, we have the Jazz. Ultimately, they do not get their name called in the lottery. Remember, there's a near 48% chance they land at pick number 5, very similar to what we've seen from Detroit in years past, including this most recent draft in 2024. Then at number 6, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Raptors at number 7, the Spurs pick 8 and 14. The pick number 14 is, of course, via Atlanta. Pick number 9 is the Houston Rockets via the Phoenix Suns. Number 10 is the Portland Trailblazers. 11 is my Dallas Mavericks. Unfortunately, they do not move up in my prediction here. If they do, there's going to be a lot of people calling for some questions to the league office about the Luka Doncic trade and then being rewarded with a lottery win. It would be very interesting. The Chicago Bulls at number 12, Atlanta at number 13 via Sacramento. Those are my predictions for the NBA draft lottery order. Again, I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to comment down below your picks. I want to hear your thoughts. I read every single comment on the channel. And don't forget to manifest some luck for your favorite team. Comment manifesting the number 1 overall pick for your favorite team. Make sure to comment that down below. Thanks again all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Again, this is not an analytical video, but more of a fun, pure vibes video. So I hope you guys did enjoy. Don't take it too seriously, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.